We are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another scene set in Vampire Requiem, a Requiem for London. Tonight, we set the scene in Soho. As the Ordo and the Sanctified have been called upon by their betters to establish some manner of peace between them. The Sanctified to protect what power and dignity and kindred that remain, and the Ordo to capitalize on the position of dominance before the war takes an unprofitable turn for them. The location, the building they're all heading to, it's a winery called the Soho Cellar. A recently opened establishment. It has proven to be quite successful even in the dark, dim times of London, as the war and the violence and the fear and the crime and the crashing economy is driving everybody off the streets. It is run by a kindred called Norman, who you are told you will not miss as you enter. The Ordo enter alongside their compatriot, their sorry, I did put it in the wrong chat. Their sect mate within the Order of Mysteries, Delphine Paquette, will be overseeing their round of negotiations. She has already explained to you all what must be accomplished here this evening. Charlie Barnett is joined by two other kindred. Riella and Scarcliffe. Likewise, Bishop, you have already informed them as to what must be done here this evening. You all enter the winery within minutes of each other. It's a lovely place. It is upper scale. Immaculately well decorated. This place has a very Regency vibe, very Baroque, very old school, gentlemanly. But it has all the modern amenities one would expect. And not long after entering, you are invited to a back room by one of the waitresses, where you will meet this man. And, well, let's just say that he really truly cannot be missed. Norman. Somewhat aging man with the, not just a double chin, and not even a triple chin, potentially a quadruple chin. With long swept-back hair and enormous girth. He is absolutely huge. For those of you that have met Ronnie Chunk, he's even larger. And when you meet him, you actually very quickly realize this place has been built for people of his size. That's why the areas are so spacious. It's why everything is the way it is. This place has been designed for people of his blood. Marcus, he will, sorry, it's not Marcus, Julian. He'll walk up to you first and go to shake your hand.
Julian will shake his hand, though. There's not the best way to put it, just a focused look on his face.
Ooh. Heartwell, you are just being, you've just walked into the Soho Cellar, which is a winery. It's very baroque, very spacious. And the reason why becomes clear when you meet Norman, who is absolutely massive. Has Heartwell met Ronnie Chunk?
I beg your pardon?
Has Heartwell met Ronnie Chunk?
Oh yeah, he and Ronnie Chunk are old friends.
Yeah. This guy's even bigger.
Oh. That's a statement.
Granted, not that much bigger, but very, very... He's extremely large, and it becomes very clear as to why this place is so spacious. This place has literally been built with his paunch in mind. His image is in what you can see, chat. He's sort of an aging man with a quadruple chin and short swept-back hair. If he perhaps were a little bit less horrifically borderline inhumanly large, he could probably pass as a bit of a silver fox, but he certainly does not have that luxury. Although he does carry himself remarkably well. He's currently shaking hands with Julian and saying, "Oh, hello, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the proprietor. I shan't keep you too long, I'll just be overseeing proceedings to ensure that everyone is hearty and healthy. If there's anything I can get you, anything at all, any beverages, don't hesitate to ask."
Are refreshments being provided this evening?
What, pardon?
Are refreshments being provided this evening?
Yes, he is offering beverages.
We will accept a beverage.
Okay. Excellent.
Mm.
He will also shake Charlie's hand. His hand is so large that it probably just covers half your goes all the way. It probably goes all the way up to your wrist. It's absolutely huge.
It's fine. This is fine. She will shake it with a polite smile.
It is the size difference, particularly between Charlie and Chonk, at least in hand sizes, is particularly comical. But he hardly crushes your hand at all, and you have vigor anyway. So he gives you a healthy handshake and wishes you most well indeed.
Sure, it does not need to be said, but we deeply appreciate you hosting this meeting tonight.
That is my honor. This is a historic event within within the history of London. It is, in fact, to my great appreciation.
Well, then consider your appreciation noted and greatly appreciated in return.
He will bow to all, and he will very politely usher you to all to your seats. That is everything's been laid out very very nicely. It's just it's not particularly. It's basically it's a plain looking table. What a very nice looking one, very well made table, and actually stands out from the rest of the tables. Has a potted plant in the middle. Over a tablecloth, and everyone takes their seats.
Julian will nod to Charlie, seeing her. And possibly take notice of an unusually familiar cane in her hand.
Yeah, so Charlie is dressed probably a little more formally than you would normally see her. A particular note, she is walking with a cane, not like necessarily walking like as she has a limp, but just kind of like carrying it parallel to the ground, just in her hand, and just like she nods politely at Julian and will take her seat.
Julian will look over to Alexander and just kind of gauge his reaction.
I do wish to describe how the order is situated. Bishop, you are Bishop Charlie, or Bishop Annette rather. You recognize most of these people, but the woman who appears to be at the center and overseeing everything, Miss Delphine Paquette, I don't believe you've met before.
I have not.
No, so she's an unfamiliar face to you. So the Ordo, obviously you will know Miss Barnett, but the two figures she's sitting with are unknown faces to you. One is an Asian gentleman with red spectacles. Formally dressed for the occasion, but still with a vicar's collar. The other is a more well-dressed, even more well-dressed one with a flowing white dress. A neck-length red hair, with a sort of small bouquet of flowers in on her left side. Yes.
Julian will just kind of nod to each respectfully.
Well now, isn't this pleasant?
Delphine will sit up and she'll say, "Yes. Shall we not begin?"
Absolutely. But before we begin, a minor point of formality. if you would mind, for the coming nights and for posterity. He leans over and he'll say, who would like to take the official minutes for this meeting? As I feel it is important that it is preserved.
Allow me to fetch one of my attendees. He will, Norman will simply text something on his phone, which is something of a slow process because his fingers are so large. And eventually he just resorts to using a stylus instead. And eventually someone will come in. A member of management staff, and they will take the minutes.
Wonderful. In that case, by all means, I believe the floor is open to you, Miss Barnett.
It's Bishop, actually, but thank you. She kind of sits up straight in her chair and crosses her legs, interlocking her fingers and propping them up on the table, and says, obviously, we're all in this predicament because certain individuals decided it was their responsibility to produce change in this city. And despite their intentions being true, their methods were obviously unacceptable, which has led to quite a bit of death and carnage on both ends of this table. And I think we'd all like to see that come to an end tonight. Is that correct?
We are here to listen to the petition for your surrender, yes.
Charlie will kind of look to... I would assume Scarcliffe has, for dramatic purposes, do we have the bag here?
The bag.
Bishop. So Charlie will just kind of snap her fingers, and I would assume Scarcliffe produces a large black bag and just kind of slams it on the table. And she leans over and will unzip it, and inside the bag is the torpid body of Joshua Bainforth. And she gestures to it and is like, consider this the opening letter.
Julian's eyes go a bit wide, looking at Bainforth's torpid body and then looking back over to Charlie and kind of understanding why she has his cane. And there is a very clear look of a bit of conflict and sadness seeing this situation. And he begins kind of scratching at his head.
Well, that wasn't something I expected to see this evening.
The former Bishop of Camden decided to make it his personal crusade to put an end to some of the work you were doing. And while I don't necessarily disagree with his beliefs, obviously what he was doing was unacceptable. So the Lankea decided to take matters into their own hands and work on cleaning house. He will no longer be a problem, or no longer be causing problems for y'all, I assure you. In fact, as a gesture of our goodwill, we offer him to be publicly executed.
Publicly executed by a member of the Ordo Dracul.
Member of the Ordo, however, the body will remain in Lankea custody, assuming there is one.
That seems entirely reasonable. Lennistav will be delighted. Joshua, he says, kind of looking down at the torpid body, this is a very good first step, if you ask me.
Julian kind of shrugs and says, "You have a point. This would definitely make quite a few people happy. I don't think it's necessary to do it like this, but it is what it is."
She shrugs and says, he was always one for theatrics.
Yeah.
So cold, Miss Barnett. So cold. To your own sire, nonetheless.
It's Bishop Barnett. Thank you, Alexander.
That's Dr. Heartwell, if we're being technical.
Of course, Doctor.
As you wish, Your Grace.
The main thing is that's true. Mr. Baneforth needed some type of punishment for his personal crusade. Public execution would be quick and easy, because we don't much care for babysitting other people's people. So I'm very sure, as a representative of the Axe, I secondly would much appreciate this.
Quite agreed. Very well. You have made the first overtures in this negotiation. Would you like our counter proposals?
Please, I would be delighted to hear them.
Wonderful. I have these written down. 1 moment. He shuffles through papers that he's brought in a briefcase. Here we are. He holds out the piece of paper, and he reads from it. He kind of adjusts his spectacles before he'll say, "The first and most trivial of our agreements is that this is acknowledged formally as the Lankea's surrender. A matter of words."
Julian looks over to Bishop Barnett and the others and see how they respond to that. Because you could tell through the body language he is resolute with Alexander's statement with this.
Charlie is not smiling. She hasn't been pretty much since the clutches were over. But she kind of clenches her jaw just a little and like her mouth narrows. But she does not say anything and just gestures for Alexander to continue.
Well, the second matter is, 1 minute please, that the Lankea et Sanctum will agree to the training of 3 chosen members of the Order of Dracul, more than likely from our Institution of the Dying Light, in the matter of their mysterious and mystifying occult arts.
You're gonna have to be a little more specific there.
Thief and sorcery, dear.
No.
Now, Julia raises an eyebrow to that. It's like
3 individuals.
No.
Very well. It's been a shame that we couldn't come to some kind of arrangement.
Heartwell, if you
You
please.
know,
This
it is a shame. Because if you really want thieving and sorcery, we're more than welcome to demonstrate what it can do. Though I'm not sure you'd be taken too kindly to your blood being limited by humanity. Imagine half of your people frenzying every night. We can stop these peace talks right here, right now, and I understand that the Lankea will lose this war, but it will be bloody, and you will be sure to be feeling it for a long time after this. We're more than welcome to offer something else in return, but we are not going to be giving up any voodoo and sorcery tonight.
Mr. Heartwell, if you would allow me, please.
By all means, Master Good.
We don't ask of this in a gesture of, let's just say, draconian acts. We are willing to trade. So we are all but reasonable of members of the Ordo. what a territory would be if you were to teach two people of our choice. We teach one person of your choice one of our coils.
No.
I see. This is a matter of religious dogma. You believe that what you're teaching us is some kind of great secret. I can understand the perspective.
In exchange, why don't we offer to set up a singular worm's nest in a location of your choice within your territory?
If I haven't forgotten that the Lankea did move on to a particular area of the Order Dracul several months ago. And we still haven't even talked about that particular, let's just say, snag in our relationship.
All right then. We will circle back around. We will circle back around to this matter later. But very well. Both sides will, upon the conclusion of this treaty, withdraw to our previous pre-war territories. Neither side will have gained territory, and neither side will have lost it. Is that acceptable, Bishop Barnett?
It is.
Good. We shall chalk that one up. The Order Dracul has interest in certain places within sanctified territory that we will like to be ceded to our control. Formally.
Such as?
Bishop, it's the Museum of Natural... Is it the Museum of National History or Natural History? I can never remember.
It's Museum of London.
Yeah, it's Natural History Museum. Also, it's sometimes called the London Museum because it's the big one.
Insert that.
She'll just nod and say, all right.
In exchange for this, the Order Dracul will release any and all prisoners that we have currently taken from amongst the sanctified. Is that acceptable to you, Bishop Barnett?
She nods.
Wonderful. I will chalk that one up. Now then. You are negotiating with us, and you're negotiating fairly. I will give you credence. You were in the sewers with me, Bishop, were you not, when we discovered the depths of this city's true problem?
I was.
We have already spoken with representatives of the Circle of the Crone, and there is a movement led by an elder of my bloodline by the name of Constantine, and another elder of the Circle of the Crone named Juno, Bishop? Question mark? I think it was Juno.
Yes.
Juno. In order so that the Circle of the Crone will join us and the Invictus in order to wipe this threat from our city with the purging of the Carthian movement, whom we have irrefutable proof have been deeply corrupted by this secret enemy. We would like for the city to join together in unity in the destruction of this threat. The Sanctified included.
The Sanctified won't be assisting in destroying the Carthian movement, but to address the issue of the owls in the sewer, we are more than happy to provide assistance.
The two are one and the same.
We will help with the owls in the sewer. We will not be participating in taking down the Carthians. That is your fight, not ours.
Then you will declare neutrality in the war. You will not fight the Invictus any longer.
She'll look to Rayella and Scarcliffe, and then just kind of nod and say, all right.
So long
we
as
will,
the,
in
so long as the Invictus do not continue fighting us. We would be quite
We
happy
will do-
to push for a more peaceful arrangement with them as well.
We will do all within our power in order to ensure that the Invictus are amenable to this agreement, and we will even go so far as to leverage what influence we have within the Circle of the Crone to aid in this endorsement also. But yes, Miss Barnett, or Bishop Barnett, you are indeed correct. The fact of the matter is that the sewers are of paramount importance now and will need to be cleansed with fire. It is unfortunate, but it is true. So, we will agree that the Ordo Dracul and the Lancare at Sanctum will perform joint raids into the sewers in order to deal with this threat and destroy the Revenants and their corrupted cult there within. Is that amenable?
The Revenant is corrupted by the cult exclusively.
Once again, you struggle to see that there is no difference one to the other.
Since this is such an important meeting and we do have someone taking notes, I would prefer that everything be explicit in writing. Therefore, we will help destroy the Revenants in the sewers corrupted by the owls.
Agreed. Now then. As I said, we will speak to the Invictus and to the Circle in the hopes of, shall we say, alleviating the pressure. Let me think. Was there anything else, Mr. Goodman?
I think a war guild would be appropriate as well.
Yes, many of us have lost rather substantial resources in the fighting of this war due to raids that have been conducted by members of the Sanctified.
She'll cock her head to the side at that and then just eye Alexander with a bit of a knowing smile.
Yes, you destroyed my laboratory. I'm somewhat miffed about this. Sorry, what were you saying, Bishop?
Oh no, go ahead.
Bishop, I think myself and Julian might need some help with how resources work, because I was going to write a number and pass it to him to nod to basically an amount of cash we are going to demand as essentially war reparations, but I have no idea what the amount should be.
I would say if resources is a general, they're going to keep paying us. If we're asking for a war guild, I would say we just should ask a cash amount.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking, but I have no idea what the cash amount should be. So
I assume it's still the range of 1 to 5.
Yeah, it would be. The warehouse on its own would only probably be about 2 because it wasn't particularly big or special, but because it was converted into a laboratory, that actually make it substantially more valuable and would probably increase its value.
We're not just talking about my laboratory, we're talking about basically reparations to the Ordo as a whole.
Oh, that's going to be a lot higher because of the level of...
Because, man, they didn't do too much damage in that museum, and just the general, wasting of our time, at this point. Yeah, I want to give them a large bill.
it'd probably be 15 to 20 dots of cash.
All right, he'll write down.
It would be it's in the multi-millions at the very least. The cash doesn't work.
He'll write down 18, basically the equivalent of 18 dots of cash on a piece of paper. Show it to Julian to get his nod to see if that's a sufficient amount of money from his perspective.
And he will audibly say, "That's a start."
And he'll push it across the table.
How would be the other
Of our society capable of creating a physical...
Well, pardon, sorry?
They're basically asking for 18 dots of resources?
Yeah,
18 dots of cash.
18 dots of cash, which would be repairable.
No, but I'm not.
Oh, pardon.
I'm basically just asking how the other sanctified are reacting to it.
Not particularly strongly. You get the feeling that money is not much of a resource to them.
You cut up Bishop after you get the feeling that none I didn't. Oh, there he is.
I'll just come back in because sometimes this happens.
Yeah.
You get the sensation that Charlie, that money isn't their resource to them. It's true of a lot of kindred. Eventually, kindred get to a point where money isn't much of an issue.
Okay, she will look at the paper and then just say, consider it done.
Wonderful. We will provide information for an offshore account for it to be transferred into.
And Julia would look over to Bishop Burnett, and there is a mixture look of sadness and respect when he looks at her. And we could say, then outside of that, are you going to confirm that you are not willing to trade thief and sorcery for coils? Is that correct?
No, we are unwilling to give up thief and sorcery. However, I'm led to understand you've had a little bit of a masquerade breach in your territory now, haven't you?
I'm curious why it is that the Sanctified struck us so and then demanded for, or then requested these talks.
These talks have been a potential for a while. Alas, we've been waiting on certain pieces, and she looks out at Joshua's body, to fall into place to have proper bargaining power.
I see. So you're saying that whilst it is that you were assembling these pieces, you decided that we would begin these negotiations in bad faith.
In bad faith? I'm not sure I know what you're referring to.
Lambeth is a walking, talking masquerade breach. This city can ill afford. You struck us a mere week before you asked us for peace. It's bad form.
Then consider an offer to help rectify that masquerade breach. An extension of my deepest apologies.
So then you confirm that you placed a curse upon our territory.
No, I merely offer to help cover up the masquerade breach.
Our sorcerers specialize in counter sorceries, which from my expertise is what this would appear to be.
Quite so. Very well, we will accept that. Graciously. We will agree, however, in the matter of thief and sorcery, that this is a point that you are unwilling to negotiate on, as you've said. However, we will make a counter-offer in a means of strengthening the bonds between the Order to Cool and the Lancea at Sanctum. 3 individuals, I happen to like the number 3, don't read too deeply into it, of our chosen, and 3 of your chosen, to be initiated into the more circumspect bloodlines that exist within each of our fraternities.
And what use do you have for a sanctified bloodline?
We are scientists. It's something we haven't studied. Ours can grant you powers that you do not possess, and advantages moving forward. Plus, it joins us by blood.
Or, and I'm fully aware you're aware that I know your lab was destroyed. We could make sure that the information you did there, specifically the fact that you were experimenting on kindred, doesn't get out to everybody else.
Oh, I don't personally care.
You don't
Let's
think
not
your
repeat
order
the
will?
same. Let's not repeat the same mistakes Baneforth did. That's the reason why we're here in the first place.
My dear, you act in a very interesting way. You act like my experimentation is, well, how can I phrase this? I will not say new, but I will not say news to the Ordo. The simple fact of the matter is that in order to understand the vampiric condition, one requires to experiment with the building blocks of said condition.
As far as I'm considering them, they were prisoners of war. We didn't attack them just to experiment with them. They attacked us first. They lost. There's
That's
our
it.
views.
So, okay, just to make sure I'm understanding this, you were experimented on prisoners of war, which all is fair in war. But now you're asking us to give up 3 of our own individuals for you to experiment on them.
Oh no, oh sorry, out of character I'll make a clarification, because it might have come across.
Oh no, she's doing this to be petulant.
Okay, cool. He'll say, not at all. They will exchange blood with an individual to teach them the abilities of that bloodline. We will provide the same. Essentially, as I say, links by blood. We have no interest in experimentation. Also, the individuals whom I was experimenting on were Carthians. They were
but
not.
do the Carthians know?
I offered my services to the Carthians. The Invictus paid better. Do not think the
They are
Carthians...
taking their prisoners and using
They
them
know.
for war.
He shrugs. Have you heard about my delightful little invention called Crimson? He looks towards the Inquisitor.
I'm a very well-informed gentleman.
Ah, yes. Well, it's what made the Carthians pay through the nose when they tried to take the racks. When they succeeded in taking the racks, but that's neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, I do not personally mind about my own reputation. When the Invictus win this war, I will be rewarded for what I have done.
So what will happen when they realize that it was you? I don't believe that would be good for anybody within the Order to call, no? Producing super soldiers for their war. Do you personally think Miss Thackeray will delineate between you and your sect? I think is a fair question to ask.
Not at all. By the way, Thackeray is Verve's last name, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He'll say, not at all. As a matter of fact, I suspect that she will come at us with the fury of, well, one of your demons. But then again, you have to remember, when you become neutral in the war, the Invictus will be able to withdraw from your front. The Ordo will withdraw from our front. And we will close the noose around the Carthian movement until it strangles to death.
Well then, it's an excellent thing none of us are Carthians in this room now, isn't it?
However, you are indeed right. What is it that you desire in exchange for the videotapes that it is, I'm led to understand, you stole from my laboratory?
He gives you a very self-indulgent smile when you say that. He'll simply gesture to Verve as if to say, the floor is yours.
We personally are not in favor of allowing you to experiment and study on our own at this particular junction. However, we are perfectly fine with you continuing your studies elsewhere, and ensuring that this doesn't get out will definitely help you in the future, won't it?
And what is it you want in exchange?
Simply take the... Well, we've already taken Thievery and Sorcery off the table, but take your 3 individuals off the table as well.
Done. See, that wasn't so hard. Though I will say, if this leaks, goes on the dark web, or anything such, I will be most disconcerted.
Julian will kind of look at Heartwell, a little surprised, and goes, "You actually know what that is?"
A moment of pride.
A little moment of pride. Hashtag.
Scarcliff says, the Inquisition is not known for leaks.
It's also not known for overthrowing bishops.
But it is known for dealing with problems.
Quite so. Quite so. Witty man, I like him. Very well. Bishop, do you have, because I assume if you were doing it, do you have a list of the current agreements?
Oh shit. Okay, so...
Hold on, children.
Right,
Okay, hold on, children. I know what they are.
Yeah, I think I know.
So do I.
To be fair.
Firstly, the Lankea will declare that this is an official surrender. This was agreed to. Secondly, the Museum of London will be surrendered to the Ordo. Thirdly, you wanted 3 people to learn Thievery and sorcery. This was rejected. In return, we will not leak the blackmail information stolen from Alexander Heartwell's laboratory. We will also be dealing with the masquerade breach in your area and helping to cover that up. I believe that is it. Oh, and we will be declaring neutrality in the war against the Invictus and the Carthians, provided neither side attacks us, otherwise we will go in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
There was also agreement to joint movements in the sewers to destroy the Strix and their tainted remnants.
And it should be just a quick point of clarification in regards to the sanctified matter, just because this will be obvious to everybody involved. Because the Sanctified and the Invictus are currently at war, what will probably happen is the Sanctified will work to declare work to ensure that they are neutral rather than actually declare neutrality, because that's somewhat meaningless when the two are fighting each other anyway.
Mm-hmm. There was also the 18 dots of cash to go to the
cash. 18 dots of cash, and Joshua was getting publicly executed. However, his body is being returned to Lankea custody, assuming there is a body.
Being executed by a member of the Ordo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There we go. I think that's everything. Just trying to think if there's anything else of importance.
Yeah, I'm just writing it all down, so...
And say in a just a very clear but a harsh tone, I will say this right now: if you betray your word in any way, or think that your friends can act on their own and send more assassins our way, I'll deal with them like I did with the previous one. Dried husk on the floor. And that will be it. And that'll obviously break our little peace accords. We'll come for you.
We are happy to negotiate in good faith with the Lankea at Sanctum, so we shall hope that it is that you are dealing with us in good faith.
Of course.
It goes without saying, but there will be a general amnesty for prisoners on both sides who may be staked or torpid. We will exchange them. All prisoners that we have at this current moment in time will be exchanged for all the prisoners you possess at this current moment in time.
All prisoners?
Yes. That you possess at this current moment in time.
No, but all prisoners you also possess at this current moment in time.
Yes. They will be exchanged. Is that acceptable?
Oh, it is. I just wanted to make sure you fully understood what you said, which you did, because you confirmed it twice. Because you didn't specify Lankea prisoners, now did you?
No, I didn't.
Excellent. And we will return all Ordo prisoners.
And Invictus prisoners. I didn't specify.
You didn't. But since we're working towards neutrality with the Invictus, that'll be something we'll bring up with them, I think.
As you like. He inclines his head. There is one tiny addendum, if I may say, as to the matter of the Museum of London. it is to be left exactly as it is.
The Sanctified will make no changes to the Museum of London.
It's going to take me 6 months and a team of 20, but I'm getting in there.
Literally every PC joins you in that one scene.
I beg your pardon?
Every PC joins you in that one scene to take down the museum.
What, as he desperately attempts to beat his way in? Yeah. But he still has this weird mark in his hand that he has to investigate there because that doorknob burned him to shit. Fucking doorknobs. Just trying to think. Is there anything else? Do you have anything else in particular, later? Anything else that you think of, or no? We good?
No.
Yeah, main thing outside the War Guild and territory thing is, Julian's going to hold them accountable if they got more zealots on their team. I go like, screw what the Lankea says and come after us, because he has no fucks to give at this point.
Hey, Bishop, because I think we're about to declare a truce, how's my Jedi Temple on Coruscant going? That's my analogy. I said, since I think we're about to declare the truce, how's my Jedi Temple on Coruscant doing?
Well, no moves have been made yet because wasn't it only supposed to happen if a treaty wasn't founded?
Oh, that's fair.
So they'd move if a treaty couldn't be reached, but if a treaty is reached, then I mean, there's no need, right? Because they'd be breaking the treaty immediately after its founding.
That's fair. He looks down and he will say, "All right, I believe that we have everything." And he kind of looks over at the Ordo rep if there's anything else they want to put forward.
I hope this can lead to a beautiful relationship. Wow.
There is one matter. I hate to backtrack, but you did suggest that you were capable of creating a worm's nest. I'm curious where you learned such a term, but irrespective of that.
I'm a well-informed individual.
So you all seem to be. Perhaps as a gesture of good faith, you could demonstrate the capacity of your sorceries to us and create one. You did volunteer to do so before, of course.
I volunteered to have the Sanctified do so, that is correct.
Yeah. We will quite happily take an example of your magics, even if you will be unwilling to negotiate for the actual magics themselves.
There are a few
Consider
wonderful locations within Suffolk.
Consider it a gesture of good faith towards our continued cooperation to each other as confidants.
Well.
Oh, though, I suppose there is one more thing, isn't there? She says, looking to the Inquisitors. Oh god, let me find it. Where is it? There's a certain cathedral in your possession, St. Paul's. We'd like to see that turned over to the Sanctified custody. It's not too much to ask.
Julie will look over to Alexander. Curious if you know anything about it.
Alexander, he kind of excuses himself from the table for a moment before he walks off into the corner. You'll see him take out something from his pocket as he looks it over very, very quickly. Hey, Bishop, I have a geomantic map that I worked a really long time to get and upgrade. Is St. Paul's on my geomantic map?
Let me... Oh. It is, in fact. The ley lines cross over it, although the Order haven't done anything with it. It should be noted it is not a chapter house. If it is a worm's nest, it hasn't been investigated, but it is on the geomatic map. It seems to be a relevant location, so...
What would be because obviously London Museum is definitely a worm's nest. It nearly blew me out of there. What would be another building or thing within sanctified territory we might be interested in to do a trade seize? That's not a religious building. Either like scientific research or occult importance. Something that we would actually value. How did you swap these?
Let's see. Having to look on the map, you have... Let me look one up for you.
You take your time.
We did it, guys! We found peace!
World peace.
Yeah, there are quite a few laboratories in London. In fact, the one second. I'm just going to look at it right now. Right, I'm going to double check that too. There are a couple of spots, so there is... There is Halo Building, which houses a laboratory. There's the doctor's laboratory that is actually just sits right next to it. There's also the Bioscience Innovation Center, which also sits next to the Retroscreen Virology Building.
You know what? Because it sounds cool, let's go with that one.
Okay.
By all means, we'd be willing to trade St. Paul. Is it St. Paul's Cathedral?
Yeah, we'll also say Bioscience because I think Retroscreen Virology is actually not all that. But Bioscience Innovation Center, but definitely is.
We'd be willing to trade St. Paul's in exchange for the Bioscience Innovation Center.
That sounds fair to me.
Good. 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 Well, are we at the point of handshakes and agreements?
Barnett gets an affirmative look from her two friends.
It appears we are.
Wonderful. Heartwell reaches across the table with an outstretched hand. He does wear gloves at all times, but he reaches out towards Charlie with a gloved hand.
She will stand and go to shake his hand.
Let us have peace on these terms.
Let us have peace.
My dear Mr. Goodman, would you mind doing me a small service?
He looks at Heartwell and goes, "Yes, Dr. Heartwell."
We were planning in the event... we can be honest with one another now, wonderful. We were planning in the event that an agreement couldn't be reached, that there would be a mass invasion of sanctified territory by the members of the Axe, but that now won't be necessary. But it seems a shame to waste the mobilization.
why don't we contact Master Lenistav and see if it can be, rather than invading the Sanctified territory, we can reroute and now deal with our only true enemies. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Let's end this war. He's that kind of cheerful, like, oh god, mad doctor cheerful. Why is everything on fire?
Oh god, the Humanity 5 vampire doesn't care.
How do you have higher humanity than I do? That's just okay. I'm okay with it.
She's trying, okay? She's trying real hard.
Marcus is just starting whistling War Pigs.
Julian just kind of rubs the brows of his head and looks over to Bishop Barnett and say, and kind of looks over down to Josh's body, and he goes, "It's like he's been reincarnated in front of our eyes."
Her gaze hardens, and she almost snaps and says, "We did what had to be done."
As a matter of fact, you know what? There's no point in interrupting Lenistav from the, well, what I'll refer to as the murdering century. My dear, sorry, what was the name of our host again? The Messalarius gentleman. Yes. Mormon, was it? He'll say, "My dear Master Norman, my apologies. However, it seems to me to be entirely apt. Would you mind terribly if we dispense with justice on your table?"
It would be my honor.
You see him flick out a knife. You see him drench it with crimson vitae. I'll spend a vitae point, so that it's wrapped in a shadowy nimbus. Basically, just so he can deal true lethal damage. Plus, it looks sick and bitchin'. Before he flicks the knife out towards the Ordo to see who wants to take the knife, just so we can get this murdering of Joshua over with.
Julian will say, "I'm here for a reason, but I won't need a knife." And he'll pick up Joshua up to head level to him. And he'll say a little bit on his breath, "And I kind of dreamed about this moment, but not like this." And mainly for the RP reason, because I don't want to go through the roles, but you'll see a moment of Julian's form transform into something dire, and he will just cleave Baneforth's head from his body with his teeth in one big bite, and then look back to his regular self.
All done now. You have my sympathies, Bishop Bishop Barnett. Or should I call you Kinslayer, perhaps?
Bishop is the most appropriate title.
I would have.
Would you mind taking the remains back to the cathedral?
Come on now, friend. We fight the undead. The truly dead are not
And tonight, gentlemen, we've taken one important step towards ending this war. I believe it is a victory for all involved.
Norman claps with his massive gargantuan hands.
Norman. Yeah, I think we're done.
This is a historic night, and I'm sure it will not be forgotten. Nay, I will ensure it will not be forgotten.
And tonight, the axe will go and cleave down those whom are the true sinners. It's almost like we have a religious duty. Funny that.
And I think if nobody's anything to add, this would be a great place to end the Pact of Soho. Thank you, those for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.